Diesel fuel is up, jet fuel is up, electrical vehicles are down. This past week, we have seen diesel fuel prices rise by 60 cents a gallon, and we've seen jet fuel go up by 44 cents a gallon by itself, based upon fears of fuel shortages. As far as electrical cars are going, they're not going to happen anytime soon, because even if the power grid could handle it, which it absolutely cannot, there's not enough nickel and cobalt in the world to make all the batteries. And the cobalt, interestingly enough, is coming out of the Congo. 70% of the world's cobalt is produced in the Congo, which is controlled by the Chinese, which are themselves refining 70% of the refined cobalt. Ergo, if the Chinese control it for now, and nothing is going to change. Plus, even if they did all the production possible, there's just simply not enough nickel and cobalt. Don, do you want to give us an update on what is happening with the weather?
Yeah, weather is going to be in the news a lot here over the next week to 10 days. We just had a massive snowstorm and blizzard hit the northern plains and parts of the central and northern Rockies, 3 to 4 feet of snow in parts of South Dakota, parts of Wyoming. That was after 3 to 4 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada of California last weekend. The door to Canada is going to swing wide open over the next 7 to 10 days, and we're going to see the coldest Christmas weekend since 2000 for most of the nation, from the Rockies to the East Coast. This is going to bring a lot of winter weather, ice, snow, single digits in teens. Will go deep into Texas by late next week and next weekend, and we'll likely see a major northeastern snowstorm on the days preceding Christmas Eve. Even possible freezing temperatures as far south as Florida. Could see temperatures in the middle of Georgia go down into the middle teens. So this is some of the cold that we've been discussing and worried about. And this is not the only Arctic wave we're going to see this winter either, but it's going to have some big impacts on the holiday week ahead and travel. And there's going to be a lot of airport delays, a lot of road closures.
One other note before we get straight into the economy. We have heard in the recent developments that there's been shooting that's broken out between India and China. This has been going on for some time. The interesting thing is that China has been losing. They've been losing with all of their conflicts with India over the past 20 to 30 years. And the reason is the Chinese troops are underfed, undertrained, and undermotivated, whereas India, their troops, well, we're training them, but their troops are well-trained, well-fed, and they're motivated. In addition, the Indian troops are much more acclimated to activity in the Himalayas, which is where the conflict is. And the Chinese have logistics problems. The other aspect is this is consistent with China. When they invaded Vietnam in 1979, they lost for the exact same reasons. So the point is, Chinese expansion may be greater in their minds than it will actually be in reality in the long run, which also is going to make the markets very confused. In the meantime, the economy, Bob Janetsky.
Yeah, we've had some very interesting developments with respect to the economy, but let me try and put some perspective on what's happening now and where. Many people know that the Fed simply created too much stimulus by pouring too much money into the system, and Congress, of course, did an awful lot of spending, so they contributed to it as well. And that drove inflation way up. The Fed belatedly early this year realized that it was in trouble, that the inflation was through the roof and it wasn't simply transitory. So they started to raise interest rates in an effort to take some money out of the system. According to my analysis, we really didn't see money coming out of the system until July. So December, now we're into the 6th month of monetary restraint. And historically, there is a 6 to 9 month lag between the Fed either stimulating or restraining the money supply and seeing the effect on the economy. So for that reason, I believe after 6 months, we are about to experience, or maybe even have already, a downturn in economic activity, the recession, just to an added problem to go along with Don's freezing weather. So that's where we are today. The question is, are we really in a recession yet? Have we started the downturn in the economy? And my conclusion is that the data are terribly mixed. As a matter of fact, we've talked about you cannot count a whole lot on data at turning points. It's often conflicting, and that's what we've seen. We've had a number of reports that show the economy absolutely doing strong, growing maybe at a 3% rate in the fourth quarter of the year. And then we've had other data that show the economy already in a downturn. Gary, we've talked about this Purchasing Managers PMI. It's a survey by S&P Global of the economy. And interestingly enough, they show the economy falling in the 3 months ending November. And they just released their latest advanced data for December. And that data show for the fourth month in a row, not only a downturn, more of a downturn than the previous data show. Now,
Hey,
if
one
you're not
second,
confused
Bob.
enough, there's another business survey, the ISM survey, that shows the service sector of the economy just booming in November. So obviously, they're obviously
One second, Bob.
surveying.
One second. This matches up a U.S. Energy Information Agency report that showed that traffic and consumption of fuel for the past 4 weeks was down 7.2% from the same period last year.
Fascinating thing is how the data are so different at this particular point in time. The latest numbers that we've seen, though, seem to indicate that the economy may be in a decline already in November, and December would be the second month. What does all this mean for the stock market? And again, let me give a little perspective on this. A year ago, I was saying that our estimate of the value of stocks was such that the market was 40% overvalued from where it should be. And we were in an absolute boom. And while no one is consistently accurate in forecasting the stock market, there's just too many factors to consider, we suggested the odds were very great that we would see a downturn in the stock market. And we've had that downturn. It's basically been about 20%. So the question is, where do you go from here? Well, anything again can happen. When I look at my model, I see the market is still something like 20% overvalued at the current time. Plus, the Federal Reserve is likely to continue to take money out of the system. Those have never been the situation where we have seen the stock market perform well. And as a result, I believe the stock market more likely is going to continue to be under downward pressure. And I have just one last question for Don. We're planning on leaving for Montego Bay in Jamaica on the first of the year. And what I want to know is, what are the chances that we're going to be able to make that flight? We're going out of Chicago, O'Hara.
Well, I'd keep a close eye on things, and if the pattern's going to stay busy, so I would be flexible on your travel out and maybe adjust if you need to a day or two early is usually what I recommend in these situations.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. Good luck.
Okay.
With that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone. And that's the way it is. Good luck and God bless America.